This is video number 2 of the Star Advisor Playbook. We're focusing on the Star Advisor standard of what affluent, ideal clients actually expect of advisors. This is what clients are willing to pay the most for. This is what they think is happening behind the scenes anyway. So we'll pick it up in this video. I want to focus on two things in this video. First of all, we're talking about the 3 metrics that drive the value of your business. I'm going to be talking about the first metric, client satisfaction. We're going to do a deep dive into that. But I also in this video want to paint the vision of this moonshot that we're calling becoming a Star Advisor. This is the highest level of advisory services that are available anywhere. It's one of these situations where you set the standard, and even if you miss the goal, wherever you end up is going to be substantially higher, not only from where you were before, but from every other advisor in your market. You'll be among the top advisors available to potential clients anywhere in your market. This is video number 2 in the series. Let's do a quick recap of video number 1. We talked about focusing on the 3 metrics. Focusing on these 3 metrics means that you're focusing on the factors that if you were looking at your business as a buyer of your business, this is what increases the business valuation of your business. Just to repeat what I said in video number 1, it really doesn't matter what you're planning to do as far as succession planning in your business. You may well not be planning to sell your business, but whether you sell your business or not, I'm operating under the assumption that as a business owner, you want to increase the value of your business regardless of whether or not you're going to ever sell the business. Focusing on the 3 metrics that drive the value of your business, we're focusing on client satisfaction, year-over-year business growth of new revenue, and sustainability of your business. In this video, we're going to focus on client satisfaction. But before I go into that metric, I do want to lay out for you the timeline. If you really wanted to become the Star Advisor in your market, in other words, the number 1 firm in your market when it comes to the level and quality of planning that you're delivering. We're talking about comprehensive financial services. Let me walk through the timeline just so you can see how feasible this is. It's not impossible. As a matter of fact, it's just 4 90-day projects. The crown jewel of the methodology that the clients expect is the actual work product. This takes 90 days. If you focus for 90 days, you will be able to create a comprehensive written lifetime financial strategy at the quality that clients expect in a format that could be used with the client's other advisors, their tax accountant, their estate planning attorney, when they go to the client and say, so what's the strategy? You've hired this comprehensive financial advisor. What's the plan? That you've got a work product you can hand to those other professionals. It takes about 90 days. I call it the unlock because once you know how to create a comprehensive written lifetime financial strategy that meets the standard of what clients expect, it makes sense, it's in a sensible framework, it's understandable, and it answers all the key questions that almost every client has about their financial future. That's why we call it the Great Unlock. Once you've got that under your belt, what's left to put into place? In the second 90-day period, you work on taking that core document, that crown jewel. This comprehensive written lifetime financial strategy is the springboard that creates the client experience over the next 12 months. What happens at the end of 12 months? The comprehensive written lifetime financial strategy is updated every 12 months. So this is a cycle. In 2 90-day sprints, you've created the core document that 92% of financial advisors have never seen what excellence looks like. They don't produce it. They can't deliver it to clients. Now you are delivering. And you spent an additional 90 days understanding how to harness that document and use it to knock the client's socks off, delivering an extraordinary client experience. You could stop there. You're likely at that point the number one firm in your market. So what's missing? It depends on how hard you want to work. Because at this point, you're creating this document yourself. And we do have that third metric that we call sustainability. What happens in this business if something happens to you? If it hasn't been worked out in the first 2 90-day periods, we recommend spending 90 days. I have a whole curriculum for this, that if the team has not already been built up to this point, then you invest 90 days to build and recruit what I call the dream team of subject matter experts to delegate 100% of all the creation of this comprehensive written lifetime financial strategy, so that the business is process dependent, not people dependent, not relying on your presence to deliver the level of service that the clients are expecting. What could possibly be left over at that point? It depends on whether or not you have a client attraction pipeline. If you are already generating leads and you have a great lead conversion process so that you are identifying potential ideal clients, you're sitting potential clients down and you're converting potential ideal clients into paying clients, then maybe you don't need this fourth 90-day project. Even if you're starting from scratch and you have no team and you have no client attraction pipeline, you can go from where you are now to creating a comprehensive written lifetime strategy, using that strategy to deliver an extraordinary client experience, building and leading a team to create this strategy so that you don't have to, and then putting in place a client attraction pipeline. Let me just pause and say, not every client is looking for this level of thorough planning delivered with such attention to detail, because you are charging typically 10x from what clients are used to paying for planning of this type. But because you're delivering a level of service that's unavailable anywhere else, there are clients out there already seeking this level of planning and frankly are frustrated that they can't find it anywhere at any price. So in this age of automation and AI and all that's happening in our industry to transform the financial services industry into something that's more artificial intelligence driven, you have a firm that can never be replaced by AI. You're providing a more thorough, higher level of planning delivered by you, and there will always be a market for that. There will always be millions of multimillionaires who are seeking the level of planning that only a human can deliver. The three metrics that we track to make sure a business is solid, sound, sustainable. Let's start with solid. Solid means that you have exceptionally high client satisfaction. I call it measuring the invisible. I want you to think about the satisfaction level of your current ideal clients. First of all, I want you to picture in your mind, how many ideal clients do you have and how satisfied would you say that they are? Now, when I ask high-end financial advisors, top producers this question, how satisfied are your clients? The typical response that I get is, my clients are thrilled with the service. They love me. And the data actually bears this out. Most clients say that they do trust and they do like their financial advisor. But the data also shows that those same clients also say, or at least 51% of them, that they would fire their current advisor if they could find a better advisor. So they are not impressed with the quality of the work product. An advisor is thinking, my clients are thrilled with the service. The data says no to that. And I think when you start aligning your work product with what clients expect, you'll realize that there's lots of room for improvement. So as much as you say your clients are thrilled, my question is, how do you know? What evidence do you have that your clients are actually highly satisfied with the work that you're providing? And don't tell me it's because they're not firing you. That's about as low a bar as you can set. I want you to think about this like a buyer would think about it. If somebody's coming in and trying to value your business, what would they be looking at if they were measuring client satisfaction? What are the metrics that actually matter? It's the annual client referral rate. When I'm a buyer of a financial advisory firm, I really look at two things. The main one is the annual client referral rate. We're going to go through that in great detail in a minute. But I also look at the ideal client duration. Let's say you've got 35 ideal clients, just to pick a number. I would look at how many client referrals have you received over the last 12 months? What's the average duration? How long have they been clients of yours? I'm looking for a long duration. Or to put it another way, the shorter duration and the less the client referral rate, the less the valuation of the business. That's how it affects the value of your business. Because frankly, what else would you measure? I do have advisors telling me that we send out surveys to our clients. We send out something like a net promoter score on an annual basis or something like that. And you've seen these surveys where a company sends you this questionnaire that says, scale of 1 to 10, how likely would you be to refer us to a friend? When you score these assessments, I read the white paper in the Harvard Business Review on this net promoter score. You might say we have a high client satisfaction because we have a 9.7 net promoter score, meaning 9.5 out of 10 clients say that they would be likely to refer us to a friend. Let me introduce you to the concept, the way a buyer would look at it, of a leading indicator versus a lagging indicator. Let's call this net promoter score a leading indicator. It's looking good. It's looking like your client referrals are going to be great. That's what the net promoter score is saying. So now, what is the actual annual client referral rate? That's the lagging indicator. That is the indicator that confirms whether or not the leading indicator is true or false. If you score highly on the net promoter score, but you have a low annual client referral rate, it's not good. It means clients are telling you one thing and they're doing another thing, and it's just not good. So the one metric that matters most when buyers are valuing your business, it's the annual client referral rate. So let's talk about that. I'm going to just really quick tell you how it's calculated, and then we'll fly through a couple of examples. What you do with the annual client referral rate is you take the client referrals that you have received over the last 12 months. So this is a rolling number. This is something that every month you drop off a month and you add a new month. We're going to recommend that you track this metric on a monthly basis, and on a quarterly basis you measure progress for the purpose of valuing your business and maybe offering team awards and bonuses. But the point is that you take the client referrals over the last 12 months and you divide it by the number of clients. And it's a real simple calculation. Let me give you an example. Let's say over the last 12 months you've received 15 client referrals. If you have 15 clients and you received 15 referrals, that means your annual client referral rate is 1. So on average, you're receiving 1 referral for every client. And so that's 1.000. Now notice that we're always going to measure the annual client referral rate going out 3 decimal points. 1 is the benchmark. If you're scoring less than 1, let's just say you have lots of room for improvement. Thinking that you cannot achieve an average annual client referral rate of 1 or more, that's a limiting belief that is not true. You can and you will get your annual client referral rate up over 1, even though referrals come from concentrated groups. It's very common before an advisor tracks this or pays attention to this metric, if you just let your business unfold without focusing on this, it ends up being something like 80-20. That means about 80% of your referrals come from about 20% of your clients. That's not unusual. That's the natural state of the universe. But that doesn't mean that those 20% can't provide enough referrals to where your annual client referral rate is 1 or more. As a matter of fact, it is quite possible to get your annual client referral rate up to 2 or 3 or even higher. Let me give you another example. Let's say you had 8 client referrals over the past 12 months and you had 18 clients. So you take 8 referrals divided by 18 clients. Now you have an annual client referral rate of 0.444. I'm showing you this because I want you to understand the importance of calculating this out 3 decimal points. The objective when you're tracking this on a monthly basis is to have an increasing annual client referral rate. But I can tell you from having been in this business for decades, in some of my offices, I am thrilled if it just goes up by 1,000th of a point. We take it out 3 decimals because I want to be able to celebrate success. As long as the annual client referral rate is increasing, I'm happy. If it levels off or it declines, I'm not happy. One more example. I want you to see something that's impressive. Let's say you're getting 51 client referrals per year, just to pick a hypothetical. But you have 45 clients. So that means you're getting 51 referrals from 45 clients. Now, you're probably still getting those referrals from a minority of clients, and I will admit there may always be some clients who never refer anybody, but it is possible, like in this example, very possible to get an annual client referral rate that is not only above 1, but well above 1. Higher than 2, higher than 3, all of that is possible. I'm telling you all this to push your limiting beliefs out the window. So that's how to calculate the annual client referral rate. I want to introduce you to a spreadsheet that we developed and we share with anybody that I'm mentoring directly. I call it the Referability Dashboard. It's a report. We track it on a monthly basis. Let me explain this. First of all, I thought this report was impressive. That's why I pulled this one to review with you. The annual client referral rate for October is 2.222. That means on average for this advisor, the annual client referrals were 2.2 per client per year on average. Let's go through all these other metrics so you understand what's being tracked. Now, I will say that this spreadsheet is easy. It just requires 3 pieces of data to keep this updated. Whenever you get a new client referral, your administrative person would come into this spreadsheet, add the name of the referral, the name of the client that gave the referral, and the date of the referral. So you just, super easy to update, and then it generates all of this. Let's start at the top. This is a section that's called referrals received last month. This is actually the count. In this case, the advisor received 20 referrals last month. The pie chart is showing whether these referrals were solicited or unsolicited. The red are unsolicited, that's 66%, and the blue was solicited. Now, this advisor asks for referrals or brings up the topic of referrals at client progress meetings, but I'm just telling you this because I never did that. I don't think it's necessary to ask for referrals to receive referrals. We can talk about that in other videos. The purpose of this one is just to walk through the metrics. But in this case, you have an advisor with lots of referrals. And if you ask me, that's quite impressive. Let's talk about this second chart on the referability dashboard. This is called the participation rate. This shows how many clients are participating in providing referrals. This is indicating that 60% of this advisor's clients have given at least one referral in the last 12 months. Now, this down here is the clients who are not referring at all. This is a monthly tracking of the number of clients who have not provided even one referral in the last 12 months. You want this number going down, which it is in this case, but you want to know either way. Now, I've said all along that the natural state of the universe is 80-20. That's 80% of the referrals being delivered by 20% of the clients. What this chart is showing is the 80-20. It's saying then 80% of the referrals are being delivered by what percentage of the clients. The big picture of thinking about this chart in the upper right is the goal is 80-80. You're currently in a normal distribution, you're getting 80% of referrals from 20% of the clients. If I'm knocking the socks off of 100% of my clients, because in every meeting I'm asking clients, what more can we be doing to exceed your expectations? And I'm asking for a report card in every meeting. Scale of 1 to 10, how am I doing? Mark, you're doing an 8. Great. What would take it from an 8 to a 10? What more could I be doing to exceed your expectations? My thinking always was, if I'm working that hard to exceed client expectations, why isn't every client at least providing one referral per year? But again, I just don't understand why. So in this chart in the upper right, I'm saying the goal is to have 80% of our clients in any 12-month period providing at least one referral. We've got two more charts and then we're done with the referability dashboard. This chart is the quality of the referrals last month. If you read this chart, it says when they sat down in the office, 33% of them were known in advance to be potential ideal clients. Not that they would become a client, it's that they met the qualifiers to be an ideal client. Now, how would we know in advance? When they schedule the appointment, usually by phone, then we will find out how they found us. We discovered that this was a referral from some client, to which point I will call that client in advance, thank them for the referral, and just try to see what they'll tell me about this person. And that's how we know in advance whether this person coming in fits the ideal client profile or not. The last chart on here is what we call impressed clients. This is a tracking of clients month by month for the past 12 months of the number of clients who have provided 3 or more referrals over the past 12 months. So these are the clients that are truly impressed. And you want that number to be 65%. You want 2/3 of your clients to be so impressed with the service that they're getting from you, the quality of the work product, you want to knock their socks off. And this is the way of measuring that. This is the referability dashboard for advisors who just start focusing on these metrics. All of a sudden, these metrics start moving in the right direction. There's a lot to be said of advisors who care enough about their client referrals to track it at this level of detail, tracked on a monthly basis. It's distributed to every member of the team on a monthly basis. And then on a quarterly basis, we use this report to update the valuation of our firm. And we use these metrics to generate bonuses for our employees and team members. I want to show you what the revenue potential is by tracking this metric that we call client satisfaction. Let's just say hypothetically that you've received 35 referrals over the past 12 months. That means you have 35 clients and you've received 35 referrals that year. Now, how does that turn into revenue? I use the metric that Bill Backrack tracks for this. When you sit down and talk business with 10 people, according to Bill, and he's been tracking this for over 30 years, on average, you will yield one ideal client. For every 10 initial client interviews, you're going to yield one ideal client. Now, my number was a little bit better than that. I did this for years, and my number was 7.8, still is. For every 7.8 initial client interviews, that's to say the first time I sit down with a potential client and we're talking business for the very first time, let's call it every 8 times I sit down with someone new, I'll have an ideal client as a result. If you're charging $50,000 per family per year as an ideal client annual fee. I would say the average advisor that I'm mentoring, they charge on average between $36,000 and $50,000. I think the most common fee for delivering the level of service that I'm describing is $50,000. Most of the advisors I work with, their goal is to have 50 clients paying $50,000 per year, and that's the business model. If you have 35 referrals and meet with all 35 of them, let's just say I end up with 4 ideal clients at $50,000 per year. So that means from this metric, I am receiving $200,000 per year of new revenue. That's on top of whatever our current existing revenue is from existing clients, just from this one metric, what we're calling client satisfaction as measured by the annual client referral rate. In this hypothetical, with an annual client referral rate of 1, I have 35 referrals. That works out to an increase in annual revenue of $200,000. So there are the numbers. That's the point number 4 that I wanted to make. The 5th point I want to make is all we're really talking about here with this leveling up of the work product to what clients expect. I want to keep emphasizing this is what clients think is happening behind the scenes anyway. So what is this work product that is so different? Let me lay it out for you so you can envision your job to actually deliver on what clients think is happening anyway. They expect that you are sitting down and creating 5 customized strategies on an annual basis. Now, if you are in one area of finance, like maybe you're a money manager and that's your service, you focus on investment planning and that's it, then maybe it's just one custom strategy. But even if you provide one service and you do it really well, the fact that the client thinks behind the scenes you've created a comprehensive written lifetime investment planning strategy, but only 8% of advisors who deliver investment planning actually do create that documented strategy. Now you've slipped into the territory of you're not providing the level of service that clients thought you were. So you need to be extremely driven to want to do what I'm about to describe, and you have to have a heart of gold. You have to really care that what clients think is happening, that you want to fix that problem and actually deliver behind the scenes. Now, what this is also going to mean is an increase in your fees. Often it's like a 10x increase in fees, but it's only because it's worth it. You are now delivering a level of service that meets or exceeds what clients expect. Because there is some cost to delivering this level of service, you will charge a higher fee. But what are these 5 custom strategies? The minute you hold yourself out to a client and you say that we deliver comprehensive financial services, or maybe on your business card or on your website, somewhere the client read that you and your firm deliver comprehensive financial services. When I look at the data on that term, obviously in the industry, the term comprehensive financial services means nothing. It has no agreed upon definition. So what are we left with? We actually have to research clients in large numbers and say, what do they think it means? What are they expecting, even though you've never promised anything? This is what they expect. 5 custom strategies updated annually. They think what you're doing behind the scenes is you've got an expert on your team who is skilled and experienced at tax, and they are creating a comprehensive written lifetime tax planning strategy that is updated annually. They think that you've got an estate planning lawyer, somebody on your team who's skilled and experienced in estate planning, who is creating a comprehensive written lifetime estate planning strategy, and a money management expert like a chartered financial analyst or somebody who's creating an investment management strategy, and someone on your team that is looking at the goals that they have shared with you, the financial goals, and major expenditures like when they purchase cars or anything big purchase. They think that you've got a financial planning expert on your team who's creating a comprehensive written lifetime financial planning strategy. And then finally, they think that we've got specialists on the team that are, in essence, looking at every scenario that would have a major detrimental impact on the plan, and you're creating a comprehensive written lifetime risk and safety strategy, which of course as a subcomponent of that is a full review of all the insurance, because they have all this insurance and in their mind nobody's actually looking at it to see if we've got the right kind of insurance or do we even need all this insurance. So they think that these 5 custom plans are being created and updated annually. This is what you're facing if you invest 90 days and go through a really focused curriculum on figuring out how to create this. And it doesn't take much in terms of resources. You can create this strategy that clients expect at an extraordinarily high level with just 3 things: Microsoft Word, an Excel spreadsheet, and ChatGPT or some AI. You can actually create this at the level that the client expects, in other words, meeting the minimum standards with just 3 resources. You don't need expensive financial planning software, and there's a lot of cool tools out there in terms of different softwares and things that you could have. That's great. Use whatever you've got. All I'm saying is it's cool to have all that stuff, but it's not necessary to meet the expectations of what clients expect. For the purpose of what? Why does the client think we need all these plans? Because in the mind of the client, there are a whole bunch of questions that they think that this plan, once it's created, will answer for them. When we surveyed large numbers of affluent ideal clients, there are actually 62 questions they feel that this plan should answer. So here's what I recommend that you do. These are the client's expectations. They are not unreasonable. What the client expects, that the plan is comprehensive, it is in writing, it covers their whole lifetime. It follows this framework. It's called OST, Objectives, Strategies, Tactics. Now, what I've done, I did this decades ago, I sat down and looked at every financial profession's standards for planning. I looked at the estate planning lawyers, how the state bar association, what their standards are for forward planning, for the board certified estate planning attorneys, what are their standards for planning. I looked at CPAs. CPAs are actually governed at the state level. When it came to financial planners, there is the CFP board. They have a list of standards for planning. What we did was we compared all of these financial professionals and came up with a way of describing the framework that the plan needs to be, which would satisfy all financial professionals' minimum standards. And this is what it is. It's objectives, strategies, and tactics. We came up with a document called the Client Bill of Rights. There's 8 rights on the Client Bill of Rights. There are things like the client has a right to clearly stated objectives in writing. The client has a right for every objective of having a strategy described in writing, and tactics, objectives, strategies, tactics. For any objective, there's both a strategy and then tactics to implement the strategy. This framework not only is what clients expect because it's clear, but it also meets the standards of every financial profession. This is what you're facing, and this is why it does take 90 days to get the hang of what excellence looks like when it comes to creating this comprehensive written lifetime financial strategy. It takes 90 days, then you're done. And at that point, once you can create one of these comprehensive written lifetime financial strategies yourself with very limited resources, you're now in the top 8% of all financial advisors nationwide, because 92% of advisors provide their clients with nothing that would be described as a comprehensive written lifetime financial strategy. So what's my call to action to you? I recommend that you assess one of your plans. I recommend that you pull the plan that you currently have for one of your top clients. I want you to think in your mind, who's our top client? Who do we care most that we impress? Just picture that client, then go through the file, pull out what you think would best describe the game plan or the playbook for the future for this client. If this client came to you and said, I'm paying you this money, can you show me what you all have created in writing which describes the playbook for my financial future? I want you to go through and read it just internally. I want you to look at this plan and tell me how many questions does the current plan answer. I've already told you that there are 62 questions that when you look at the data of what affluent ideal clients expect of their plan, they expect it to answer a lot of questions. What questions are answered? That's what I want you to determine. What do I mean by questions? There are questions that I could give you as an example, like among the 62 questions is, how much money will I be able to pass along to my heirs? All right, it's a simple question. The clients are hoping that their plan will provide a simple answer to that question. But it's not easy to answer a question like that because a typical client, they've accumulated assets. They get to a point in their life where they're taking distributions out of those assets to live their lifestyle. The question is, the portfolio is growing and they're pulling distributions, and so this is happening for maybe a number of decades, but nevertheless, they still want to know, at least in your plan, how much money should pass on to the next generation. It is a simple question, but just look at your plan, see if your plan answers not only that question, but it should answer many more. Let me give you another example question that is among the 62 questions. They might ask you in a really tough investment market. Let's just say the markets do this huge drawdown. The client may say, hey, in the past you've said, just be patient, stay the course. These are long-term investments. But the client's thinking, are you saying that under no circumstance would you ever sell any of these investments that are currently in the client's portfolio? And if the answer to that is no, there are conceivable circumstances where we would sell something that the client owns and either replace it with something else or just leave it in cash. But that's the client's question. Can I see that? Can I see the circumstances under which you would ever sell anything of my current holdings? What they're in essence asking for, and this is just a data-driven question, would you please show me the sell strategy on every holding in my portfolio? I'm just curious under what circumstances you would ever consider selling anything that I own, because I would just like to know that there is a plan. You just go through the entire plan and ask two questions. First question is, how many questions does this plan answer? Be very candid. The second question is, how many objectives does your plan resolve? If the client is thinking that they are receiving from you a comprehensive written lifetime financial strategy, they may have never seen it, but they do believe it exists somewhere behind the scenes and that you've got it, making sure that there are objectives in each of the 5 categories: financial planning, investment management, tax, estate, and risk and safety, which includes insurance. So how many objectives? Again, example objectives, how many financial planning objectives, how many tax planning objectives, money management, estate planning, and so forth. So how many objectives across each of the 5 areas? To wrap up video number 2 in this series, what have we accomplished in this video? Well, we've reviewed that it may or may not be your goal to become a Star Advisor. But if it is, it's really a matter of how much you want it. How hungry are you to be the top advisor? And the idea of setting a moonshot goal to be the top advisor in your market, even if you miss the goal, the odds that you'll be in the top 8% of financial advisors nationwide, even if you miss the goal, is almost 100%. It just takes resolve, commitment, and focus for 90 days. That's it. We've also dealt with metric number 1. This is the key metric in valuing your business when it comes to client satisfaction. I hope you understand right now that the only metric that really matters is your annual client referral rate. And the only reason that most advisors don't have higher annual client referral rates, 2 things. They don't ask clients what would it take to exceed your expectations, and then be willing to hear from clients at every meeting a report card asking them to rank you on a scale of 1 to 10. And every time they give you a score, you ask, what would it take to get to a perfect 10? Now, the one thing that I learned in going through this is sometimes what they want and what they're paying for are 2 different things. And this gives you the opportunity to make that point to a client. We can deliver everything that you're asking for, and we're happy to do it. It's just going to be an additional fee. 2 times, 3 times, 4 times what you're currently paying. But if that's what you want, we're certainly happy to step up and deliver precisely what you're expecting. The idea that your annual client referral rate is not going up is more a function of you're not asking, and then you're not measuring on a monthly basis. But if you'll do those 2 things, start asking clients what they expect, getting feedback from the client as to how you're doing, and then for your team, you're tracking this on a monthly basis. Now you're on track to having an increasing client referral rate. And when it's clear that your annual client referral rate is on the incline, not level, not on the decline, but it's increasing, well, that will drive one of the 3 metrics that drives the value of your business. In the next video, we'll deal with what will make your business a sound business. And this involves the growth of new revenue year over year, and we'll talk about that in video number 3.